Okay guys, airbags. Why am I not a huge fan of airbags? Well, let's jump into it. This one will be a quick one. These are airbags we installed back in 2021 for a gentleman. He's got the camper here on his truck. And I've got a walkthrough video on this camper if you're curious on it. But he's got the camper, and then he's got the F-150 here. And he tows a trailer. So he needed supplement, suspension supplement. Well, what's a good supplement? The nice thing about airbags is you can engage them and disengage them. So you can inflate and deflate them according to the load that you have. And that's nice, but they also come with something else. They put weight in a certain spot on the chassis and all of that, and I'll go into the wheel hub and wheel bay there and I'll show you kind of where these things sit and why they're not so great. But you can see these brackets are bent. Hard to tell in this video, but these are super bent out of shape. You can see kind of how that airbag is sitting. It's not sitting level anymore. But once these things get bent, they don't do a straight up and down vertical press on that bag. They kind of sit offset, and then tweaked. And then if you somehow, hit a bump that opens them up and separates them, or you underinflate, so they bleed down, or you bleed them down and then leave them below 5 psi, then they're sitting there and they're absorbing all of that shock on the road and getting ripped apart. So these actually failed. So we removed them off the truck and we put what I considered to be way better on the truck for him. And that is, they failed right in here. And so his load was riding crooked and all of that. And so here's what we endorse, and I think it's way better than airbags. After installing hundreds of sets of airbags and hundreds of sets of these, I personally have these on my truck, and they are way better. These are called stable loads by Torque Lift. This right here is the stainless steel set, but the most common is a black powder coated set. But what these do is they take and they engage the lower leaf spring. They close that gap so that you don't squat the truck and then hit this leaf spring. You close the gap, and then that leaf spring is engaged before the truck is sitting and squatting. And you can see this thing is sitting mostly level. It's hard to tell in this, but you can see here that thing is sitting level. You see how it's actually leaning forward even with the camper on there? That's perfect. So you can see there's a set there, there's a set there, and then the same on the other side here. A set there and a set on the front. And what they do is they close that gap. You can engage them and disengage them. An airbag sets right here. It replaces the jounce bumper right here. The airbag sets right there, and it puts all of the weight right here in the center of the chassis. And it unloads this suspension. So then the actual axle, you get a bunch of axle play, tire wear, you get that play in the steering wheel. Your load is not actually on your suspension where it should be. It's sitting in the middle of the chassis, and it's all on those airbags, and they do fail. And this guy has been into over 28 states. We're in Alaska right now. That's where we build these things and everything. But he has been to 28 states and he's had his incidents, and those airbags proved not to hold up and last. These stable loads, I can't say enough good about them. Just like anything, I was apprehensive in the beginning, but these things have proven themselves. Again, I've got them on my truck. I would not do airbags after these stable loads. I would go to another leaf spring, or I would go to a control arm for the back here that ties into the chassis, way before I would ever go with airbags. But airbags do sometimes still have their place. The reason why I like these so much is you can engage them and disengage them. This pin comes out, you throw a 3/8 ratchet right there, right here, 3/8 ratchet, and you disengage that when your load is not there. But then when your load goes back, or just before you throw weight on the truck, you re-engage them. All right, guys, That's a real quick one on airbags and stable loads. Figured I'd catch that while this truck is here. Cheers. Hope that was helpful. That's our take on suspension.